when Corey found out, he really tried to insert himself into the relationship because he had this personal philosophy that a perfect relationship involved a man, a woman, and a transgendered individual.
Also here for a woman expected to face a Mercer County judge tomorrow accused in the murder of Ryan Zimmerman.
Authorities say a woman confessed to strangling Ryan Zimmerman and dismembering his body. Now, nearly 5.5 years later, deputies are calling the case challenging and unusual. The family of 21-year-old Ryan Zimmerman can rest a bit easier now, knowing that this woman, 30-year-old Sarah Buzzard, is behind bars.
Good evening. My name is Drip Drop, and you've just entered the Crime Circus cult. You may not be an official member, you may be a distant viewer. No worries, I won't force you to drink any Kool-Aid here. But we can watch interrogation videos together. We can analyze the suspects together. You may learn something, you may be entertained. I'm also going to be presenting a lot of other videos on this channel, such as body cams, court footage, case documents, and maybe just some videos of me. Maybe I'll even do some ASMR. But you certainly won't see me playing tennis on this channel. Anyways, please make sure you're subscribed and notifications on so you don't miss any episodes, because I plan on releasing a lot of content on this channel. It's going to be equally as high quality content as seen on Crime Circus. This is Crime Circus Cult, and I'm still Drip Drop. Anyways, I have a very special interrogation video for you here. This is one step above a love triangle because there was 4 people involved, and one of them ended up dead. Sarah Buzzard is accused of murdering one of her husband's lovers. It's a very graphic, gruesome case, and we're going to get to hear what she has to say for herself in detail. This case happened in Indiana. Now, I guess we'll just jump right into this and see what Sarah has to say for herself.
Good morning. How are you doing, Sarah? Feel free to have a seat. People here. We didn't want to be rude drinking our coffee in front of you, so we've got you one. Feel free.
Thank you so much.
To have it if you like. If you don't like coffee, then
I haven't had coffee for so long.
It's a specialty. It's a Cinnabon, so it's on something good. So hopefully, if you don't like it, we can get you on water. Okay. So you do like it. I love coffee. Good deal. So you wanted to. Just let me know when you're rude. Until she comes back here, she's gonna get you water just in case. So before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. Do you understand that? You have the right to remain silent. You understand that? Okay, so I guess I don't know what your thoughts are on the easiest way to get through this. Obviously, it's not going to be something easy to speak about. So we obviously want to make it as simple and comfortable for you as possible, but also, in your own words. We don't want to question after question after question. So we kind of feel like the simplest would maybe to be able to ask you to start kind of from the beginning, maybe when things started with when Jen moved in, that kind of thing, and then just kind of tell us how things played out. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I first met Jen around, I think, late June-ish, 2014, on a dating site. And Corey, my husband at the time, wasn't going to be involved. He knew about it, but he said that he wouldn't try to insert himself in the relationship. So she and I would meet up for movies at my apartment until around the 3rd date when we became in a sexual relationship. Around that time, I learned from her that she was transgender. She had been on hormone therapy for 6 or 7 years, but it was before she had her surgery. And when Corey found out, he really tried to insert himself into the relationship because he had this personal philosophy that a perfect relationship involved a man, a woman, and a transgendered individual. I don't know where he came up with this. I never shared it. Before Jen and I met in person, I had told her that he wouldn't be involved, so the fact that now he was trying to be involved did not help either of us. So we had our relationship, and Corey was trying to pursue other women without success. I never knew about his conversations because I didn't want to know, and he never volunteered it to me. So then around February 2015, Jen went back to her hometown in Massachusetts to do some kind of paperwork, name change or something like that. She didn't really go into details. And then during her absence, that's when Corey started talking to Ryan online. I didn't know about their conversations until around early April-ish, when he told me that he wanted Ryan to move in with us so that he could act on this philosophy. And we argued constantly for the entire month because I always felt like he needed this other person to make up for traits that I lacked, and that really, really hurt. And he was expecting me to, I don't know, not fall in love, but become infatuated with Ryan when I first met him, and everything would be perfect.
Sure.
So we argued because he was adamant about it. I did not want it to happen. He didn't like any of the compromises that I was trying to come up with. So finally, I came up with a compromise that I still didn't like, but it was the best I could do, which was Ryan would be allowed to stay in our spare bedroom on the condition that he pay rent, purchase his own groceries, and at the end of a 3-month period, he would have to have a job and his own apartment. Because I told Corey that if the relationship he was pursuing with him was going well, Ryan could still be around to see him, but I didn't want him staying in the house the whole time.
Well, that sounds fair.
Yeah, which he agreed to. So I talked to Ryan online once, and I did not like him. He was extremely subservient to the point where I found it extremely annoying. Like I was asking him, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? And he said, I like to draw. And I told him, I have a degree in that. I'd love to help you. He said, no, I'll never be good enough. So I understand that his family, I could see why he had that kind of personality, but I didn't like it. And I let Corey know that I said, I know he didn't see what he looked like. I don't know if Corey had gotten pictures, but I never got one. And I said, I don't think I'm going to like him when he comes, but I will still give him the chance to at least have somewhere to stay until he gets on his feet. So Jen came back around mid-May 2015, and she kind of officially moved into the living room around either the end of June, early July, something like that, before Ryan came. So she set up her space in the living room. We fashioned a curtain to block it off from the stairwell in the kitchen, so there was a little bit of privacy. And then Ryan came, I don't remember exactly when, but I think it was either the end of July or early August 2015, somewhere in that range. And from that point, he moved into the upstairs spare bedroom. Upstairs, we also had the bedroom that Corey and I used to stay in, adjacent. So his spare room would be here, the bedroom was here, there was a long hallway, the bathroom, and then the office. So while Ryan was there, he did pay rent, he did purchase his groceries, but I didn't really interact with him if I didn't have to. Naira did not like him. Jen, sure. She did not like him at all from the beginning. She would make comments like he was a disgusting person, the world would be better off without him. She just absolutely loathed him, mostly because of his personality, but also because he would eavesdrop at the top of the stairs, and she would always catch him, and that really bothered her.
Mm-hmm. Like eavesdrop on your conversation, or just in general, in your personal space?
If anyone was talking in the kitchen, he would sit at the top of the stairs and try to eavesdrop. So Naira, Jen kept to herself.
You can call her whatever you want. Whatever you're comfortable with.
So Naira was, she stayed in the living room primarily. Didn't really interact with Corey or Ryan if she could help it, unless we were all in the kitchen during meal times. I bounced back from staying with her, going to work, and then sometimes staying up in the office with Corey because that's where my desk was. I also tried not to interact with Ryan as much as possible, but I was a little bit more open if he had questions. And then Ryan stayed in his room primarily all the time. And then Corey would bounce between hanging out in Ryan's room, staying in the office, or going to school. So we all kind of had a uncomfortable but functioning relationship. And then in September, I think it was the 25th. I know it was the weekend when everything happened, and I can't exactly remember if it was a Friday or a Saturday. I think it was Friday the 25th. Corey told me that he was meeting a woman at the Greyhound bus station, and that they had reserved a hotel room in downtown Columbus, and they were going to stay there for the whole weekend. And he also told me that he didn't want to have anything to do with Ryan anymore. He wasn't what Corey expected, and he had not tried to hold up his end of the deal. He had scheduled several job interviews and never went to a single one because he was convinced that he was just going to get rejected, so why bother? So Corey told me that he did not want Ryan there anymore. He had told him that he wanted him to pack up and leave before Corey came back. And then he left to go to the hotel. The next day, I don't remember seeing Ryan at all the rest of that day. If I did, it was briefly to go into the kitchen to get something, but he didn't really talk to me. On the morning of the 26th, Naira started voicing some plan about killing him, and I did not take her seriously because she would make comments like that sometimes. Like if we were in the parking lot and we saw a woman waiting in her car, she would say something like, "Oh, I wonder what would happen if I just shot her in there," or, "Oh, I wonder what would happen if we drove this cyclist off the road," and things like that. She never acted on them, so I never took her seriously. So when she started saying things about killing Ryan, I didn't take her seriously.
Did she first say something that morning, or had she said something prior?
She may have made passing comments prior, but nothing major. It was less about murder, more about just violence. But I can't remember. But if she did, they were short and passed and announced it. When I went upstairs at some point during the day to get something out of the office, Ryan had left a note propped up on the staircase banister asking to talk to me, and I really didn't want to talk to him because I just wanted him to go. So then I went back downstairs, and then later on, when I went to use the bathroom, as I was exiting, he stuck his head out of his room and said, "Can I talk to you?" So I finally did. I sat on the floor and listened as he cried and begged me to give him a second chance. He said that Corey hated him and that he wanted. I tuned a lot of it out because I knew he just wanted a second chance. But I told him, look, I'm sorry that Corey said that and that he wanted you to leave before your 3-month period, but if that's what he wants, then I'm going to stand by it. Plus, I pointed out, you haven't tried to go to any of your job interviews, and you can't use the excuse that you didn't have a car or you didn't have like a resume that had interested them enough to schedule it. You just didn't want to go because you chickened out. And I said that I wouldn't do anything, that if that's what Corey wanted, then he would have to leave this weekend. Which is not what he wanted to hear, but he agreed to it. So then I left, I went back downstairs, and I filled in Naira on what he had told me. And that's when she went back to fleshing out their plan. I still didn't take her seriously, but I was starting to get worried because of how intricate it was getting. And then when she started gathering tools like trash bags, bleach, the handsaw from the shed, I realized she was serious. So I tried to talk her out of it, calmly at first, and then I started getting a little hysterical. And she told me that if I didn't help, that she was going to do it anyway, and that it was going to be a lot messier and a lot harder to get everything done by herself, and that Corey would probably come home before she was finished. So she said that she would just give me a small role to play, but she would do most of the heavy work. And usually at this point, the attorneys ask me, well, why did you do it? Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you kick her out? And it was because I loved her. I knew that she wasn't a good person. I knew that she was kind of borderline sociopathic. She liked to manipulate people, including me early in our relationship, but she was the only person who had been there for me through everything that Corey had put me through. And she was the first person that I actually felt like cared about me. Maybe not so much at this point in our relationship, but later on, she was fiercely loyal to me. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to lose her. So I agreed that I would help. So in the evening, we waited until Ryan went upstairs to use the bathroom, and then we both went into the office. She had a rag that she dipped in bleach, and she had the bottle of vinegar next to her to add to it when the time came, because I guess they had some kind of chemical reaction and released some kind of poisonous gas. I don't really know, but she did the research for it. So when Ryan came out, I was waiting in the doorway of the office, waited until he walked down the hall, and then I jumped on him from behind, put him in a headlock, and pulled him down to the floor with my body weight so I could hold him while Naira came and straddled him and then pressed the rag over his face. When he started making these guttural gasping noises, Naira let me get out from under him, and I curled up in the office and cried. I didn't want to look at her or him. I wish that I didn't have to do it, but it was done, and I was so scared and horrified, but there wasn't, I didn't stop. I didn't stop her. I didn't.
What was the problem?
Yeah.
More videos like this are available at CrimeCircus on YouTube.
So I stayed in the office. I didn't know that she had put duct tape over his face until the prosecutors or you, or I can't remember, somebody told me that when they examined the head, that there was duct tape on it. So I didn't see her do that. I'm guessing she did it to make sure that he wouldn't breathe if he wasn't fully dead. And then she asked me to help her move him into the bathtub, but I wouldn't do it. I said I didn't want to see his face. I couldn't bring myself to look at him. The only thing I could see were his calves sticking out, and his skin had turned white, so I knew that he had died. So I stayed in the office for a while until she did get him in the bathtub, and she had put a trash bag over his head and severed it, and then put that into the freezer so that she could deal with it later. And she started using the handsaw to take off his hands and feet at the joint. And at that time, because I didn't have to see his face anymore, I came out to help, and she gave me his clothes, instructed me to put it in a trash bag while she worked. And after, I'm not sure how much time passed, it felt like maybe an hour, she started to get intestinal cramps. So she went to lie down and said I had to take over. So I put the hands in one bag, the hands and the feet she told me to put in a bag, and then she also put it in the freezer for later because she said those would be the two big identifying factors and she would have to deal with them separately. So I removed the forearms and the calves at the joints, and it was slow, exhausting work, and I did not work fast enough. Her original idea was to cut up everything into as small of manageable pieces as possible and then dispose of them that way, but we didn't have enough time to do that, so we just had the head, hand and feet, the forearms went in one bag, the calves went in another bag, and then we just had to deal with the torso. Around that time, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, I knew that it was starting to get light out. She came back to help and had this black Tupperware bin that she had kept some of her belongings in, emptied that out and brought it upstairs, and we put the torso in it, all of the pieces, and then bags that had the tools, rags, gloves, things like that, and threw those in there too. I waited while she cleaned the bathroom quickly. She said she would do a more thorough job later. And then we took the bin and put it in the back of Ryan's car. Sometime on the 26th in the afternoon, she had apparently talked to a friend online who arranged to purchase Greyhound tickets for us. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't see her do it because she just wanted to keep it on a need-to-know basis. So once we got the bin into Ryan's car, that's when she told me our plan was to drive to Illinois, leave the car somewhere deserted, and use those tickets to come back to Columbus. So we started driving, and I stopped for gas after maybe half an hour to an hour, and then that's when the car wouldn't start again. She took my phone and was trying to troubleshoot it while I did everything I could think of, and we couldn't get it to start, so we had to call a tow truck and have it bring it back to the apartment complex. And we asked the driver to leave it on the side of that road that ran past the complex, but I don't think it was actually part of it. And then Naira said that I needed to bring my car around because we'd have to use it instead. And when I brought it up alongside, she took some of his belongings out of his trunk, put them in my car, took off the license plates, and just rummaged around and tried to find anything that needed to be taken. And then we moved the bin into the backseat of my car. And we left his car there and started driving again to Illinois. It started getting dark. I don't remember how long we were on the road, but I knew that the day had gone by very quickly. I'm guessing a lot of the time was spent trying to get the car to start, but it did start getting dark when we left in my car. And I started, again, driving towards Illinois, and once it got dark, Naira would randomly pick exits for me to turn off on, and we would drive around trying to find dumpsters that were open and unsupervised, and we would throw one of the bags in it and then get back on the highway and keep going. So we did that until we just had the torso left, but at that point we had both been awake for 36 some hours, so I kept falling asleep at the wheel, and I told her I can't keep driving. So that's when we found the wooded area here, dumped the torso, and turned around and started driving back to Columbus. And I had to stop frequently on country roads to take a quick nap just so I could keep going. And I think it was maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning by the time we got back. And Corey was waiting for us in the kitchen. He didn't suspect anything, but he was angry that I had turned off my phone because he had tried to text me to see where I was. So he was furious that he didn't know where we were. I did not want to talk to him. I just wanted to sleep. So we both, Naira and I both went back to the living room and fell asleep. I don't remember what she did with the bin. I know that she cleaned it out. I can't remember if she just threw it in the dumpster at the apartment or what she did with it, but it eventually disappeared somehow. And then she took care of the hands and feet while I was at work and Corey was at school. She did something to make it easy to pick the pieces apart and store that in a bag. And the head, she got this soup pot and made some kind of lye mixture and put the head in it, partially because it was kind of a trophy for her, but also because she didn't know the best way to dispose of it yet. So we had to carry, so she put it in the soup bin, put that in a bag, or several bags, put the pieces of the hands and feet also in the bag, and then kept bagging it up, and we put it in the shed for the time being. And every time we moved, it would have to come with us. So that was a weight that I had to drag with me everywhere I went. Corey never suspected anything. I told him Ryan packed up and left, and he didn't give him a second thought. He started dating another woman until he moved in with her sometime in November. And Naira and I vacated the apartment December, January, somewhere. It was slow work, and moved everything back to my mom's house. And then early January, Corey and I had an uncontested divorce, and then Naira and I married at the end of January. And for a long time, we would check the news constantly. That's when we found out that the torso was discovered. But as time went on and we didn't see any new news, we started planning for a future instead. And we made a suicide pact that should something go wrong or we get discovered, that she was going to shoot me first and then kill herself, because she said she would rather die than spend her life in prison, especially since at the time she was still anatomically male. So she said that she would probably have to go to the male prison, and that was a death sentence in itself, because she was very, very feminine.
Mm-hmm.
I agreed to the suicide pact, but I was also scared because I'm terrified of death. I did not want to have it go that way.
Sure.
But as time passed and nothing new happened, I started to feel better, that maybe we'd be able to live a life together. And then the arrest came, and when I said goodbye to her, I could see it in her face that she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And when the officer at the Marion Police Department told me what happened, I wasn't surprised, but it still hurt.
Sure. I need tissues. They're really
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And that's about it.
Okay. So if you don't mind, I have a few questions. Okay. Kind of going back a little bit to the point where you said she would bring it up and talk about it, I guess, and she kind of laid out her plan. What did she explain?
She was trying to figure out the best way to kill him without alerting anyone. She didn't want to shoot him because that would be loud, that would be messy, and it would draw attention. So the only other idea she could come up with that would be quiet would be strangulation. And she wanted me to hold Ryan down so that he wouldn't flee or kick her or anything, while she put the rag on his face. She didn't share the after part when we needed to dispose of things, either because, again, she wanted it as a need-to-know basis, or she hadn't figured it out just yet. So she told me that my role was just to pull him down and she would take care of the rest.
Do you feel like when you pulled him down, did he pass when you had your arms around him? Do you feel like he was dead and then she told you could go?
I don't know. I don't have any experience with what the body or what a body does as it's fighting. So I don't know. I know that he was still making noises as I left, but at that point I didn't know if it was him voluntarily doing it or if it was just a reaction.
Okay.
And after I got in the office, I covered my face. I didn't want to look. So anything else was noise for me.
Okay. You had mentioned that she went and gathered all these different things. And I guess, what do you mean she went and gathered? Did she go to a store to buy some of this stuff?
No, she got everything in the apartment. Trash bags and bleach and vinegar were in the kitchen as cleaning supplies. I don't remember where the handsaw came from. I don't know if someone left it there, if it was Corey's. It was something that I saw but never really thought about. But she knew that it was in there.
And
The shed.
The shed. Okay, which is the outside little closet type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you describe this all to me?
It was...
Or draw it?
So it was about this big-ish, or at least the blade was.
Please don't steal this content from our Crime Circus YouTube family.
So it kind of looked like this, where this was the frame.
Sure.
That was the handle, and then the blade was right here.
Okay. The pot, you mentioned that she had gotten a pot. Did she go purchase that somewhere? Did you guys use that previously for cooking, or where did that come from?
I think she had it with her. I know that it wasn't something that I had ever used. I can't remember if she already had it or if she had purchased it before. I just knew that it wasn't something that Corey and I had with us.
Okay. Because you mentioned that she brought this up previously. How far previously did she start making comments about violence towards Ryan or killing Ryan versus when it actually took place that weekend?
Well, she made maybe not necessarily violent comments, but disgusted comments she would make ever since basically when he arrived. She more commonly said things like, he's a disgusting human being, or the world would be better off without him, but she didn't actually say things like, I wonder what would happen if I killed him, until that day.
The day that happened. Okay. You had mentioned the bleach and vinegar on the rag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then mentioned something different was put into the pot?
Lye, some kind of lye mixture.
Okay. And is that something you would have had on hand, or did she go out and purchase?
That she did purchase. The head in the freezer didn't draw any attention because she had packed like vegetables and stuff in front of it, so it didn't look like it was anything. She asked me to drive her to Lowe's to purchase the lye, and then brought it back.
Okay. You had also mentioned that she did her research.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
Researching the chemical reaction. I'm not sure what else. I wasn't either paying attention or actually there when she was doing that research.
Did she have her own computer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Own accounts, that sort of thing? Because as we previously mentioned or spoke, there was different searches and things on your Google. Would that have been you, like searching the jugular, that sort of thing, to know, to make sure you got it right the first time?
I didn't search for it. It may have been something that she searched for, because I would let her borrow my phone if she needed something right away. So I don't recall making the search myself. Because I can't think of any information that I would have gotten from it.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something that she might have done. The car, the troubleshooting with the car, I knew that she did.
She was searching. Okay. The days leading up to this, you mentioned that Corey indicated that he, wanted Ryan gone, basically. Was how do you say, is it Naira?
Naira.
I'm sorry, I mess it up every time. Was she a part of those conversations when he would explain that to you? Did she know that you wanted him out of the picture?
Typically, he wouldn't say it while she was there, but I would relay the information to her, just so everyone was on the same page.
Sure. Okay. Did Corey ever tell you what his issues were with Ryan and why it ended so abruptly?
Part of it was he discovered that Ryan had, I think it was genital herpes. I think it was some kind of herpes, because and I don't know exactly what went on between the two of them, so I don't know how he found out, or if Ryan told him or something, but that was kind of the last straw for him, because Ryan wasn't what he expected or wanted, because he wasn't able to start any sort of hormone therapy or see a psychiatrist for it. He was physically male, very much so, and I don't think that's what Corey expected. I don't know if he had gotten photos of Ryan that made him believe that he looks another way, but just a combination of Ryan not being what he expected, finding out he had herpes, Ryan never going to his interviews, and whatever other conversations they had, all of it culminated into him wanting to go back to pursuing women and forgetting that it ever happened.
Sure. Did you know that Corey was reaching out to other women back on like dating websites trying to find?
Earlier I didn't. Later on I didn't see him, but I knew that he was doing that. And he, even before he started trying to act on this 3-person philosophy, he was pursuing women to try to have a threesome. And he would contact my friends while I was in college, asking them if they would be interested, and pretending like I was also agreeing to the idea, but never knowing about it. So I lost a lot of friends. People stopped hanging out with me. Roommates would call me furious, and I'd have to tell them this is the first time I've heard of it. So it was something that he always did, but after Ryan, it was more open, I guess. I didn't see the messages. He didn't explicitly tell me about them, but I wasn't surprised if he'd say, I'm meeting this girl somewhere or whatever.
Going back to the items used in sort of, you mentioned she got it all from the house, so like the trash bags, the vacuum seal bag, do you recall that?
Those I think we got after we moved to our first apartment in Pennsylvania, because it started to smell a little funny, so we needed a better seal, and her mother had needed vacuum bags anyway, so we bought some, took what we needed out of it, and then mailed the rest to her mom to use.
Okay. And then the duct tape, as you mentioned, you were told by your attorneys or what have you. And I had shown you a picture of the duct tape. It's like an aqua blue. Do you recall having that on hand?
That was mine.
That was yours.
She most likely got it out of the office because I used it to like decorate notebooks and stuff like that.
Sure. Okay. So I guess the days leading up, do you recall going with Ryan to Kroger or anything like that, or did you all go to Kroger and make multiple different transactions?
It depended. He did come with us on a few occasions in my car, and once we got there, everybody would kind of split up to get their own things. Corey would go either by himself or with Ryan, and then Ira would come with me. We all did separate transactions, and once we were done, we would load up everything in the car and come back. I think he also went to Kroger or places like that on his own. But if everybody needed to go to the grocery anyway, then we would just all go.
Do you recall any larger purchases? Say there was multiple transactions like the day before at Kroger for like around $100 each.
That was for the rent. I'm trying to remember how much I charged. I I think I want to say it was $200 because I think our rent was $600 or something like that. So he would pay for a third of it. I would pay for a third for Naira and myself because she didn't have a job, and then Corey would pay the other third. So those, I do remember asking Ryan to withdraw that money for rent, and because there's a limit on how much cash back you can get, he'd have to do it a few times.
Okay. That makes more sense. I appreciate that. Do you recall, I guess, what happened with his debit card or what have you after he and
Naira kept them.
Okay.
I don't know what she did with them. I think she also got maybe like a flash drive or a hard drive, but she kept all of those to herself. I don't know exactly what she took.
Please don't steal this content from our Crime Circus YouTube family.
Yeah, I can't remember what was in the trunk.
That's okay.
Bags, boxes, and she took what she wanted and then stored it in her area.
Okay. So you don't know if the debit card would have been used by either of you after he had been deceased for a couple weeks. Okay. Do you recall if anything else was in, I guess the torso was in its own bag? Okay. Was there anything else of his belongings or clothing-wise that would have been in there that you recall?
Not in that bag, because it took up most of the bag. I think we had to maybe double bag it, but any small belongings, like his clothes, would have been put in its own bag because that was something that we could easily put in one of the dumpsters.
What about like the, my understanding is he traveled with gaming system, possibly, or even a tablet, anything like that. Do you recall him having those things or what happened with those?
I think he had maybe a Wii U or a 3DS. That was something that Naira kept, and I don't know what she did with it. I wouldn't be surprised if she sold it because she would buy and sell a lot of electronics and fix them up and then resell them.
Sure.
So I imagine that she did that at some point, but it would have been on her own. The only thing I would have done would be take the box to the post office for her.
When she does those transactions. Okay.
So I remember seeing the Wii U gamepad screen a couple of times, and then I didn't see it again. So
okay. You doing okay?
Yeah.
I don't know where I asked all the questions, so I apologize.
It's hard reliving this over and over and over, and
so after everything we can move forward.
I hope so. Yeah. I think I have to do it again at the sentencing, so I'm just very emotionally drained having to do this over and over.
Well, unfortunately, in situations like this, sometimes it helps to get it all out. The more that you speak about it, then that offers closure for you as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as with me in past circumstances, so hopefully you'll get that same closure.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Naira kept the hard drive. Would that have included like a tablet or a computer or something, or just specifically took that out?
I think it was specifically the external hard drive. I did let Ryan borrow either a tablet or an old laptop. I can't remember which. Maybe it's like I can't remember if I still had my old laptop or if I had given that to someone, but he did borrow something to use to communicate with friends, family, or be online, to whatever.
Okay. Do you recall searching how to clear or wipe like an ACES tablet?
That would have been something that Naira would have already known how to do.
Okay. Okay. Do you recall anything about getting on any of Ryan's accounts, like around that time frame, and speaking with one of his friends on, I guess it'd be Steam or the Google Chat.
I didn't. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that Naira could do. She was very, very tech savvy. Okay. So if she did that, I wasn't there to see it, so she may have done it while I was at work or something. But it doesn't surprise me to hear that something like that might have happened.
Do you recall any of Ryan's friends reaching out, asking anything about him? I mean, after he was dead.
No.
Okay. And speaking of work, would you have been at work this weekend and come home early around lunchtime or anything? Or
I don't think so. I wouldn't have come home during the break because it was only half an hour, and it takes I think like 20 minutes to get from Barnes & Noble to my apartment. The only day that I think I could have worked might have been on the 25th, but I know I definitely didn't on that Saturday and Sunday because I was helping her with everything that whole time, and I don't know if I called off work. I don't think I did. If I did, it would have been that Sunday when we came back early in the morning, or the day after, but I can't exactly remember.
Sure.
But I do know that on at least the 26th and early on the 27th that I wasn't scheduled to work.
Okay. So just so I understand, the 25th is when Corey would have went to meet the woman.
I believe so.
Okay. Did he drive there himself? Did anybody bring him there?
I can't remember if I had given him a ride there or if he took the bus. Because I know at one instance I gave him a ride, and another time he went by himself.
Okay.
And I get that mixed up.
Sure, that's all right.
But he got there somehow.
Okay. So he went on the 25th, and then Saturday the 26th. When did I guess the plan start playing out?
When we woke up, maybe it was like 10:30, 11, somewhere in the late afternoon, late morning, early afternoon. I think we were just relaxing in bed, and that's when she started thinking out loud about those things, and I was kind of half asleep, so it was just more of her ramblings to me. It really wasn't until after I had finished talking to Ryan that her fixation on the plan started to get worrisome, because before it would have just been like really basic info, like, oh, we kill him and cut him up and throw him somewhere, and then that was the end. But when she started going into the details, like, we would need to remove this first and that, and then we would have to do this, that it started becoming less like her other comments and more something new that I haven't experienced.
I want to personally thank you for being one of the very first viewers here at Crime Circus Cult. This is my first release. Hoped you liked it. That's about all Sarah had to say for herself in the interrogation room. Make sure you like the video, comment, subscribe, and turn on bell notifications. There's going to be a lot of good interrogation videos that I'm going to be releasing on this channel as often as possible, along with body cams and other miscellaneous true crime goodies. Maybe I'll even tell you some true crime stories. Anyways, stay tuned for the next episode. It's coming soon. I appreciate you. And until next time, remember to stay safe out there, because you know it's a dangerous world.